and welcome to the new edition of Shoot Promo, the only wrestling game show in the world. Probably. We're starting a new format this week. We have two teams of three wrestling fanatics ready to dissect and probably dilute the past week of wrestling. So let's meet our teams. On Team A this week, which has been codenamed Minty Balls, we have our team captain, Mr. PX.
I don't care what to say. It's a better name than Air Boom.
And joining him on his team, we have the always minty fresh Mintzs.
Yeah.
Possibly drunk. And the multi-talented, multi-gendered, possibly multi-racially coloured Swerveface.
WWE presents Balls Everywhere. It's the Elimination Chamber replacement, suitable for the children.
Taking full advantage of the fact we have an explicit tag. And their opposing team, all the way from the USA, it's Freedom Bombs, which is team captain, is the man who's had more partners in Shoot Promo, not all of them sexual. It's Mr. WindowDump.
That's right, and this week I've got two lovely big partners with me.
It's a threesome this week. He's scored twice. One of his partners is the biggest heel, the biggest heel in Shoot Promo history. It's Mr. JP.
The only football that I play is my foot to your balls.
The crowd goes mild. And the bastard love child of Heath Slater and Mark Henry. It's RMD.
Insert dick joke here.
As long as it's not your actual dick, I'm okay with that. Okay, let's go through the rules, because we're starting a brand new format. So basically, the teams will attempt to answer questions about the past week in wrestling, as well as taking part in some more improvisational rounds. Ooh. Along the way, they'll be awarded points for making funny, positive, and original remarks, whilst having points deducted for moaning, groaning, and making sweeping, generalized statements that really belong on YouTube. Points will be awarded and deducted with accompanying sounds. For example, if a team says something's funny, we'll be awarded 1 point, and they'll hear this noise. Oh God, it's gone down in quality. Damn you. If they say something funnier, they'll be awarded 2 points, which sounds like this. And if they say something hilarious, they'll be awarded 3 points, which sounds like this. On the other hand, if they start drifting too far off topic or say something terribly unfunny, I'll deduct points like this. Which they might also hear if they start talking for too long. So, when the WWE says it's going to do everything differently, they always start off with the same old shit. So, who are we to argue? So, we open, as always, with winners and losers, where each member of both teams will tell us who they believe are this week's biggest winners and or losers. For example, they could say that this week's biggest losers are Miz and R-Truth, who interfered in this week's pay-per-view only to get arrested and sent to prison. You could also say this week's biggest winners are Miz and R-Truth, because with stars like Nick Gage, Matt Hardy, and Jeff Hardy, prison looks to be the hottest new wrestling promotion. So with that being said, who do you believe are this week's biggest winners and losers? We didn't do a coin toss beforehand, which we should have done. So
actually, can I jump in on this, Red? I feel our team should go first because I outscored WindowDump by 1 point on the 4-downs this week, 107 to 106.
Oh, that seems a fair measure. Okay, PX, you can go first this week. Who do you believe are this week's winners and or losers?
Winners, I am going to go with Kurt Angle because his DUI was dropped to a reckless driving charge. Hooray for Kurt Angle. And I'm also going to go with Hunter because Triple H put himself over the entire WWE roster on the end of Raw. The losers this week are the title winners at Hell in a Cell, Del Rio and Beth, because both of them just won the titles when nobody would possibly give a shit anymore. Beth on her 89th try and Del Rio getting it back 2 weeks after he lost it, so no one cares there. And then John Morrison because he's still a geek and still a jobber on Raw.
That John Morrison's a nerd. He doesn't even know TV.
Okay, let's move across to the other side. Move across to Freedom Bombs, WindowDump. Winners and losers for you.
Well, this week's biggest winner is NXT because its live broadcast has been moved to after the shoot promo taping, meaning that I don't even have to get up from my computer in order to continue the wrestling insanity. NXT, NXT. This week's biggest loser is Superstars, which somehow managed to be canceled from the internet.
That's very difficult to do, to be cancelled from the internet. Okay,
Yeah,
let's
I
jump
mean,
back.
we survived this long.
Yeah, we're doing well. Let's switch over to Mintzs. Mintzs, your winners and/or losers.
Biggest loser this week is evidently TNA for re-signing Hulk Hogan again. I don't know why. Biggest winner, pluralised that this week. Mason Ryan was on Raw. What the holy fuck? And the second thing that I've just actually found out there, hold on 2 seconds. WrestleZone.com front page. Justin LaBar has posted, WWE Live Events website shuts down because of nude photos. Woo is fucking legendary.
We would like to just let the whole of iTunes know that we had nothing to do with that incident whatsoever.
Unfortunately true.
Unfortunately, yes. But further pushing the blame away, let's go to JP. Winners and/or losers this week.
This week's biggest losers are the Raw audience for having to sit through that completely awful promo at the end of Raw. I mean, that was just shit. This week's biggest winner is TNA, because with all of the employees walking out of WWE right now, their roster suddenly just got much bigger.
Yeah, we'll leave the new names to the Woo thread.
By God, it's jolly African American official. What's he doing in the Impact Zone?
Let's move over to Swerveface. Swerveface, your winners and losers this week.
Well, this week's winner is Jeff Hardy for going to jail. He got a 10-day sentence and he's going to do it now. And, hopefully he'll be batting soon. TNA getting pushed to the moon. And if we're lucky, we might get another main event at Victory Road where he's completely shit-faced. This week's winner is the is the superstars of the WWE for having the balls to walk out on Triple H. No other company would have the balls to do that. I mean, look at TNA. They're getting run into the ground and Hulk Hogan's getting re-signed. And you'd think that at least a few people would walk out over such a ridiculous decision by Dixie Carter.
It is interesting, there seems to be walkouts and re-signings. And last but no means least, RMD, your winners and/or losers for this week.
My winners for this week are wrestling fans who give a shit about things like story development. Because what's going on right now on Monday Night Raw is seen as some of the best story development to go on since the Nexus angle began last year, as the WWE gave an emotional portrayal of the last fans of TNA and walked the fuck out on the company. Biggest losers this week, on the other hand, are fans of internet wrestling, as more and more promotions suddenly find out, oh shit, we can't do this internet thing anymore, and go straight to television. So, sorry about that, American viewers of Superstars. Guess it's only Europeans that get Superstars and whatnot from here on out. Lame.
Well, until it gets pirated onto YouTube.
It is a terrible shame that we have to sit through Superstars every single week. Okay, at the end of that round, in the lead is Minty Balls with 10 points, but just behind with 9 points are Freedom Bombs. Okay, let's move on to this week's WWE question, which this time concerns Raw and the future of WWE. Team captains, who have you selected to tackle this question? Let's go to those who are slightly behind at the moment. Let's go to JP. Let's go to WindowDump. Who have you selected to answer a question on WWE?
Well, RMD's last answer was so original and funny, I think he should take this next question.
Excellent, fantastic. Okay, let's on the other side, PX. Who have you chosen to answer the WWE question?
I chose Mintzs.
Okay, so Mintzs and RMD. Here is your question. This past Monday Night Raw ended with Triple H standing alone in the ring as the entire WWE roster, cameramen, referees, divas, commentators left the building, abandoning the COO in the middle of the ring. So where does WWE go from here? With no camera crew, no wrestlers, no Booker T, how can the WWE possibly function? What strategy would you employ to keep the WWE afloat? RMD, your answer first, please.
Okay, well, the Raw show will obviously go like this. It'll cater entirely to the wrestling fan, which means it'll be catering entirely to what's left of the wrestling community on there. So Internet Smarks will rejoice at 2 hours of Triple H randomly burying people. It's going to be nothing but H in his ponytail and his nice suit going around with a shovel burying people found on the street. He's going to be burying homeless people. He's going to be burying veterans. He's going to be burying little old ladies pushing around prams. He's going to be burying the children in the prams. He's going to be burying dead people, living people, half-dead people, half-live people, zombies, vampires, mummies, ghouls, gas, dogs, cats, everything. There's going to be a mound of dirt roughly 33 feet high, encompassing half of America by the end of the first season. Over on SmackDown, of course, they're going to have regular wrestling, but, I mean, who gives a shit about that when the Internet Smarks have something to massively jerk off to? Oh my god, H is burying people! And since the Internet Smarks can't turn off anything they hate, Raw will get the highest professional wrestling ratings in 12 years.
That's like 10 out of 10 would watch.
The only thing that was missing from that was possibly renaming the show to WWE Shovel or WWE Burial.
WWE Monday Night H.
Monday Night H. Let's move on. Let's go to Mintzs. Your thoughts on how to keep the WWE afloat?
Certainly not running it as if it was an episode of Scooby-Doo there. To be honest, the way the things are going just now, I'd let children run it. So, as RMD says earlier on, when it caters to something, it'll be children catering to children.
Brilliant. I like the idea of just small children running around everywhere in the
So that would basically mean that there would be a pay-per-view called WWE Playing Balls in a...
There would eventually be that possibility.
WWE.
And then Triple H comes in and buries the small children. In the bounty
Buries
castle
them in fun and cuddles.
No! They always have Jerry Lawler right around the corner, goddammit.
I will give you an extra 2 points for that. Oh my god. Was
and
that
then
PX?
Triple H buries Jerry Lawler inside the bouncy castle with the children.
Okay,
oh god, wait, what
And
have we
the
done?
new
World
Teddy Bear Champion.
Okay, everything's breaking down. I have to try and get some order. At the end of that round, both teams are tied a piece. They're 15 points each. So we're going to move into one of our new rounds this week, which is our free-for-all round, where basically all the participants get to jump in whenever they like. As soon as ideas dry up, or we have something so funny that no one can keep control, we'll stop the round. So it's a free-for-all, so anyone can join in, preferably those on the teams, though. Basically, this week's round is the Wrestling Gazette. Wrestling rarely makes the front page, but when it doesn't, all the news can be found in the Wrestling Gazette. The newspaper so named because we couldn't think of a good enough pun. So basically, I'd like the teams to take it in turns to dig into this week's edition of the paper and see what headlines, adverts, pictures, or classifieds they can find within the Wrestling Gazette. Since both teams are tied up at the moment, let's go to Minty Balls first. Anyone on Minty Balls found any pictures or articles in the Wrestling Gazette?
Stop the presses. Drew Max on TV.
Sin Cara bought cheese. Suffice to say that's the lowest. It's the lowest bought newspaper ever.
Minty trips over her own tongue.
Power Ranger defeats Evil Power Ranger in first of 5 matches.
Matt Hardy gets a DUI. Nobody gives a shit again.
A man with no identity has had his identity stolen.
For sale, one portable HD webcam, slightly buried.
Missing person. Well-known best-in-the-world wrestler, last seen getting buried by multiple people, or one person, depending on if you're drunk, on an edition of SmackDown. Has not been seen since.
I don't know who that was referring to, but I'll give you a point for it.
Any more?
Daniel Bryan.
Oh. Any more from the newspaper this week?
Yeah.
Classified ads. I will buy your shovels. Please call Paul, Stamford, Connecticut.
Page 3 girl is Tiffany.
Child rapist now speaks for Voice of the Voiceless.
WWE now hiring, needing many superstars to fill a huge gap.
Have your announcer tables been breaking all of a sudden? Well, have we got a good solution for you? Our new announcer table is completely RKO-proof.
And made in Japan.
Okay, okay, then, any more for any more?
Ain't no bleeding problem? Call now.
Okay.
We're the same doctors that worked on Jim Ross.
Oh, God.
Oh, okay. Right. We'll cut it short there. Oh my God, dear me. Throat infection plus hosting an online show do not go together. At the end of that round, with just 1 point in it, in the lead currently with 23 points, our Freedom Bombs. And just behind, the crowd goes wild. And just behind with 22 points are Minty Balls. But it all could change as we move into our round.
They count the game.
As we move into our round on TNA, this week our TNA round, the question is about retiring. So PX, who have you chosen to answer a TNA question this week?
We want Swerve. We want Swerve.
Okay, and on the Freedom Bomb side, WindowDump, who have you chosen to answer about TNA?
JP, because he was so hilarious in that last round.
Oh, great.
He seems well informed. Okay, well, here is your question this week on TNA. This week on Impact Wrestling, Hulk Hogan announced his retirement, putting over such promising young talent like 40-year-old Rob Van Dam. Say what you will about Hulk Hogan, he's undoubtedly one of the biggest wrestlers of all time. As such, he should have one of the biggest retirement parties of all time. So what do you think Hulk Hogan's retirement party bash will be like? Who is on the guest list? Who's doing the catering? And what will the entertainment be? Let's go to those slightly behind. Let's go to Swerveface first. Hulk Hogan's retirement party.
Well, first of all, one person in attendance would be Jake the Snake Roberts, who would bring the 24-inch long pythons. The ring would be decorated red and yellow for the power of Hulkamania. And there would be other people who, Hogan has helped in the past, like the Monster Abyss, who, as we all remember, one day gave him the power of Hulkamania, and he was all strong, and he had courage and that. It's like the Wizard of Oz, except they actually got stuff. And, let me see. And, there would be people would be chauffeured to the event, and Hogan wants to keep it personal, so he will be sending Nick Hogan to drive them to the arena. And if any of the girls in attendance look like his daughter, they'll be all invited to his hotel room at the end of the show.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I'm done.
You're done. Okay. Thank God for that. Lawsuits inbound. JP.
This just shoot promo cancelled after one episode.
Let's move on. JP, your TNA Hulk Hogan retirement party.
Well, Hulk Hogan will come down to the ring. He'll give a speech about, all you Hulkamaniacs have been helping me throughout all this time, even though I've moved companies like 5 times. And we'll get Dixie Carter to somehow show up. She'll come down to the ring, break kayfabe just because, and she'll end up presenting Hulk Hogan with a lifetime TNA World Heavyweight Championship, even though he never actually won it. They're just giving it to him just because. Everyone that was involved in the Immortal stable will end up coming out, and they'll all celebrate in the ring. There will be confetti everywhere, balloons and everything. And really, Swerveface stole all my jokes. Motherfucker.
It's terrible, isn't it? It's a terrible,
Joy is
terrible
going
crime.
first.
And really, there was only one way that question could have been answered.
And he took all of them, still all of the answers. Oh, well, that's kind of reflected in the scores, unfortunately. Dropping 3 points behind with 27 points of Freedom Bombs after that round. With 30 points and currently in the lead are Minty Balls. But
God damn it, AP.
It's all still to play for. Don't just blame
I'm gonna stutter through this one.
Okay, it's okay, don't worry. Our next round is Pass the Buck, where we truly test our participants' knowledge of wrestling and wrestlers. Much like the endless list of moves known by Y2J, the panel will attempt to come up with as many words as possible that fit our criteria until they run out, stumble, or repeat a word. If someone does, they'll be eliminated from that round and we'll move on to the next category. The last person standing after a 10 count will win a 5-point bonus for their team, and points will also be given during the round for any interesting or funny answers. So just so everyone knows the order, we'll be starting with PX, we'll then move to WindowDump, Mintzs, AP, Swerveface, and then RMD, and then loop back round to PX. Okay, so starting us off PX, our first round this week is submission maneuvers. So submission maneuvers. PX, off you go.
Cattle mutilation.
Mexican tarantula shooter.
Armbar.
Armbar.
Botch.
Hey, come on there, JP. You just said armbar straight after armbar.
No, he didn't. He said armbar.
Armbar. There's a difference.
It's
Come
totally
on,
different.
man.
Just
Haven't
ask
you
Chris
read
Jericho.
the list of 1,004 holds?
Okay, all right. I'll let that go. Go on, Swerveface, carry on then.
Camel clutch.
The 3-handled moss-covered family Gradunza.
Boston Crab.
Reverse Boston Crab, Billy Goat's Curse.
Single leg Boston Crab.